Disclaimer. These videos show some tips to help you on a thru-hike of the AT. The ideas presented are not the only way, merely one hiker's experience. Remember, hike your own hike.
It's a little windy.
Pretty much so.
Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to
Tips from the Trail.
And today on Tips from the Trail, we're going to talk about trail finding on the Appalachian Trail. Right now, Sharon, Asher, and I are, where are we?
We're in Hancock, Maryland.
Hancock, Maryland.
Towpath Trail.
And it kind of sparked the idea of doing trail finding because we're actually on our way to Harper's Ferry to do a little hiking and visit the Conservancy. And Asher was getting a little stir crazy in the car, so I said, Sharon, why don't you find us a place to go hiking? Why don't you find us a trail? And she very quickly found us a trail, and in about a half hour we were out hiking. So it made me think about trail finding in a different sense, which is actually keeping yourself on the AT, and how difficult is it, and really how easy it is. What's that, buddy? For the most part, on the AT, trail finding is never really an obstacle. It is such a well-maintained and well-known trail and well-traveled that it's almost difficult to find yourself off trail. The Appalachian Trail is marked with white blazes, but also has some blue blazes that will mark off trails or side trails, you know, to water sources and to shelters. But the trail itself, the main trail, is marked with a white blaze. You got Daddy's hat. What are you doing, kid? That leaf's the size of your head. I know there's some people that are worried about reroutes and where the trail changes from year to year and are concerned about getting, you know, sidetracked. Well, the reroutes actually, in my opinion, are the places where the trail is marked better because it's more recently been moved and the blazes are newer and fresher. And it's the very old sections of the trail that hasn't been changed in a very long time where the blazes can actually be faded and be harder to see. The traditional blaze is a small rectangle which was made by a paintbrush, or nowadays I think they may even have a stencil in a spray can, but it's just a little paint mark on a tree. Now there are a couple different blazes that you can look for on the trail. The traditional single blaze is going to mark it's going to be marked on a tree, and that's going to just signal that you are on the trail and you want to continue to follow that blaze. Now if you see two blazes, oftentimes that is a turning blaze, and if one blaze, and I should be able to put them up here in the configuration to kind of explain better, but two blazes, one being higher than the other, would signify a turn. And one thing to keep in mind about turning blazes, unlike a road sign that would say, you know, that there is a turn coming or something coming ahead, a blaze that is a turning blaze normally signals that turn to actually happen right before the tree that it's on. So if you were to see a tree with a turning blaze on it, you should know that that turn is either right at that tree or very close to that tree. It doesn't mean that there's a turn coming up. Aha! You switching to mommy, huh? So there are some other signs and marks that you can look for that if you can't seem to find blazes, because the Appalachian Trail is almost 2,200 miles long, and you can imagine that they can't mark it perfectly every step of the way. There are going to be sections that the blazes are going to be sparse and a little bit few and far between, and you may rely on some other trail finding methods to kind of keep yourself from getting off trail. One of the first options is just to backtrack to the last blaze that you saw and continue to see if you didn't miss a turn. I always suggest doing that almost immediately, because after you get going so far and you've committed down what could potentially be a side trail, you're gonna get into this mode of thinking that, oh, there'll just be a blaze around the bend, and you'll actually kind of keep waiting for that next blaze, and could actually cost you quite a bit more time and more miles in the long run. It's a beaten footpath, so if you aren't seeing a lot of blazes, for the most part, you can look down at the ground and you're going to be able to tell that you're on a footpath. And the only worry at that point is the difference between a footpath and you may find yourself on maybe a game path or a trail walked frequently by animals that's also created kind of a divot in the ground. Anytime you see something that you can tell has been maintained by man, you'll know you're on the AT. I mean, there's so many things beyond just the blaze. Any configurations of rocks for water diversion, or bridges, or a lot of times you'll see they'll cut stairs in or stack rocks for stairs. The trees being trimmed out of the way, and noticing trees that would normally be laying across the trail being sawn so that you can walk through. I mean, that's just like a giveaway that you're on the right path. Sometimes trail workers will use trees, stacked down trees, as a way to guide you in the right direction. So on the trail, a lot of times there's going to be small down trees over the trail that you're going to step over. But sometimes, like I said, they'll be across the trail and in a way to divert you off of the trail. It may also be there may be a slight diversion around an area that's really wet that they're trying to let the trail dry out. Or it may be where the trail used to go one way and it's been rerouted, and they'll use these stacked down trees as a way to tell you, no, don't go this way, you need to turn. And it may be paired with a turning blaze as a way to let people know that the trail does not continue, it actually turns. Now, there are going to be some confusing spots where you have different trails that join the AT. In the White Mountains, for example, there is so many different side trails that it can become very confusing. Even just trying to follow the blazes, like I suggest in most of my tips videos, get yourself a good guidebook. That'll help you keep on the right path going through these areas where it's not hard to find a trail, it's just hard to find out what is the right trail to be on. My beautiful, smart, and kind wife just reminded me of another good point to bring up. And that is, when you do take a side trail, a blue blaze trail, to a shelter, when you go to there to sleep for the night, when you get up the next morning and you are taking the blue blaze trail back to the AT, it's not going to be marked which way you need to turn, left or right. You should always take and remember which way you turned off of the trail. Sounds like kind of a give-in, it's something that you're going to do, but when you spend that much time on the trail through hiking, sometimes shelter stays tend to blend together, and you'll be surprised, you may forget, which way did I turn? Don't be afraid to be social and ask people. The AT is full of hikers, and a lot of times you're going to see people on the trail, and if you have any questions, you'd be surprised the amount of information a hiker coming the other way can give you about where you are, where you're going. A lot of times they could be someone that lives in the area and they're just out for a day hike, and they know every rock on that section of trail. So it's invaluable the amount of information that you can get out of another hiker. Something that can be tricky to trail find on the AT, and that's the Vols, where there are no trees for them to actually mark blazes. A lot of times in these sections they'll be marking blazes on the stones and on the ground. Now, not that that's very difficult to find, but you may find yourself in a situation where there's snow on the ground, like we did going through the Grayson Highlands, where it is bald and there was snow covering up what would have been the blazes. Sometimes they'll have sticks supported by rocks sticking out of the ground with blazes on them, but when you get snow on the ground, it does act as, makes it very hard to see the blazes, but it also gives you the next best thing, and that is footprints. And it shows you where everybody's been hiking. And we actually found that in the winter time, even when the snow blankets the ground, because there is pretty much a divot where the hikers have been and the trail is, the snow will actually divot down where the trail is. And even though there's snow covering the trail and snow that's almost taken the blazes off of the trees by coating the trees, you can just kind of sit back and you can still visualize where the trail goes just because of the indentation where the trail lies. I just said visualize the trail, which sounds a little silly now, but if you thru hike the AT, you'll find after a couple weeks on the trail that you will be able to do just that. You'll be able to all of a sudden look ahead and go, nah, the trail goes this way, or oh, that's the trail, it goes up that way. You'll very quickly get a little bit of a sixth sense about reading the trail, whether it be from the trees and the rocks. And it's one of the amazing things about well, hiking and the AT and thru hiking is that it really brings out a different side to your senses in a way. What you doing, baby boo?
Playing with the vine.
Are you playing with the vine? Who playing with the vine?
Ashy.
Are you playing with the vine, boy? Yeah. Well, there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we know about trail finding on the Appalachian Trail. I hope that this video has been helpful, and stay tuned for more tips from the trail, because if it worked for us, it may work for you. And if you're not sure which way to go, the Appalachian Trail always goes up. Bye-bye.
Until we meet.
Oh, he was gonna pull away though.
Happy trails to you. Smiling until then.
Here, we can walk
I am
around.
happy trails to you. Here's his famous expression. Release and Daryl. Happy trail. Release and Daryl. Stay safe. Keep it between the blazes, baby.
I like it, I dig it, I want more of it.